You know the music. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. It's the heartbeat of cinematic terror, and the moment Jaws swam onto screens in 1975, the ocean was never quite the same. People skipped beach vacations, surfboards were left in garages, and every shadow beneath the water felt like a fin waiting to surface. But here's the wild thing. For all the terror Jaws inspired, its production was arguably more chaotic and more fascinating than anything that ended up on screen. Steven Spielberg was just 26 years old, barely past his television directing days. The script was based on a book some critics thought was mediocre. The shark? It didn't work. The crew? They called the set flaws, and yet somehow, through malfunctioning machines, sinking equipment, and a sea of second guesses, Jaws became a game changer, the first ever summer blockbuster, a movie that made history and nightmares. But how did they pull it off? What secrets did the cast and crew keep buried beneath the waves? And why did Jaws nearly ruin Spielberg's career before saving it forever? Let's dive deep into 20 things you never knew about Jaws. Just keep your hands inside the boat. 1. The shark was named Bruce after a lawyer. Steven Spielberg affectionately named the mechanical shark Bruce after his real-life attorney, Bruce Raymer. It was a light-hearted in-joke that stuck throughout the entire production. The name became so iconic among the crew that they started referring to the malfunctioning prop by name, almost like it was a misbehaving actor. Bruce Raymer, meanwhile, went on to become one of the most powerful entertainment lawyers in Hollywood. Decades later, Pixar even paid tribute to this inside joke, naming the great white shark in Finding Nemo, Bruce. 2. The shark didn't work, so Spielberg got creative. The mechanical shark was a disaster from day one. Salt water corroded the gears, and the latex skin kept peeling off. Spielberg had planned to show the shark in many scenes, but the constant breakdowns made that impossible. So he pivoted. Instead of showing the monster, he suggested it. Music, splashes, floating barrels all made audiences imagine what they couldn't see. That limitation ended up defining the film's unique suspense and made it even scarier. 3. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Wasn't in the script? That unforgettable line? Completely improvised by Roy Scheider. It started as a running joke among the crew, who kept complaining about the production's lack of space and resources. Scheider dropped the line mid-scene, and Spielberg loved it so much he kept it in. The line became legendary and is now one of the most quoted in cinema history. 4. The Orca boat actually sank. One day during filming, the Orca began taking on water and started to sink with actors and equipment still on board. A near panic ensued as crew members scrambled to save the expensive Panavision cameras. One assistant editor literally dove into the water and held film cans above his head to keep them dry. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but Spielberg later called it one of the most stressful moments of the entire shoot. 5. The author of Jaws didn't like the movie. Peter Benchley, who wrote the novel Jaws, had strong opinions about the film adaptation. He disliked the idea of the shark exploding at the end, calling it unrealistic and silly. Benchley even argued with Spielberg about scientific accuracy, particularly over the use of the pressurized air tank. Despite his criticism, he later admitted that the movie's ending worked brilliantly for audiences. In the end, Jaws overshadowed the novel and became the definitive version of the story. 6. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss hated each other. On screen, their tension felt authentic, and that's because it was. Robert Shaw frequently mocked Richard Dreyfuss off camera, criticizing his acting and weight. Dreyfuss, in turn, found Shaw's behavior arrogant and exhausting. Their rivalry grew so intense that Spielberg often had to keep them separated between takes. Ironically, that genuine dislike made their scenes even more electric. 7. Quint's USS Indianapolis speech was based on a real tragedy. That chilling monologue about shark attacks after a WWIE shipwreck? Totally real, the USS Indianapolis was a real Navy disaster. Hundreds of sailors were left floating in the ocean for days, and many were eaten by sharks. Robert Shaw helped rewrite the speech to make it more natural and haunting. He famously delivered one take while intoxicated, then asked to reshoot it the next day for a cleaner version. The result is one of the most powerful scenes in the entire film. 8. Spielberg skipped the final shot. Spielberg had grown increasingly anxious during filming, mostly due to the prank-happy crew. On the final day, he feared they would throw him into the ocean as a farewell joke. So he quietly left the set early, leaving someone else to direct the final shot. Sure enough, the crew did try to throw the replacement director in. Spielberg avoided a soaking and a salty goodbye. 9. Martha's Vineyard was chosen for a special reason. The waters around Martha's Vineyard were unusually shallow, even miles from shore. This made it possible to film ocean scenes while keeping the mechanical shark rigged to underwater tracks. It also helped hide the machinery and cables, giving the illusion of deep sea. The small-town feel of the island added authenticity to the movie's atmosphere. Locals were used as extras, which added even more realism to the beach scenes. 10. The shark explosion nearly hurt the crew. When the shark explodes at the end of the film, it wasn't just movie magic, it was a real and dangerous blast. The special effects team used actual explosives to create the final scene. One of the cameras was blown off its mount due to the force. Thankfully, no one was injured, and Spielberg insisted on keeping the dramatic footage. That shot became the film's iconic climax. 11. The production went 100 days over schedule. Jaws was originally scheduled for 55 days of shooting, but it ballooned to 159. Everything that could go wrong did. Mechanical failures, bad weather, and seasick actors plagued the shoot. Spielberg thought the delays might destroy his career. Instead, it forced him to adapt, and he came out the other side with a film that would change Hollywood forever. 12. It was supposed to be a B-movie. Universal originally envisioned Jaws as a cheap, quick thriller, maybe a fun drive-in movie. But Spielberg pushed for location shoots, cinematic camera angles, and character-driven storytelling. This decision made the film harder to shoot and more expensive, but also gave it lasting impact. What began as a simple monster flick turned into a cultural phenomenon. 13. The music was almost cut. When John Williams played the da-dum theme for Spielberg, the director thought it was a joke. It was so simple, so sparse, it couldn't possibly carry the film. But Williams argued that simplicity was the point. It built primal fear. Eventually, Spielberg agreed. The two-note theme went on to become one of the most iconic scores in history. 14. Locals played the beachgoers. Instead of hiring hundreds of extras from Los Angeles, the production turned to the people of Martha's Vineyard. Local fishermen, store owners, and kids all appeared in beach scenes. Some had small speaking roles, while others just wandered the shore. It gave the movie an authentic small-town charm that no big-budget casting could replicate. And for the locals, it was the summer of a lifetime. 15. The real shark footage came from Australia. To make the shark look truly monstrous, Spielberg needed footage of a real great white attacking a cage. So he hired Australian shark experts who filmed a small cage next to a full-sized shark. At one point, a shark got tangled in the rig and thrashed violently with no actor inside, luckily. The footage was so dramatic that Spielberg rewrote parts of the script to include it. It's what gave the shark attack on Hooper's cage such intense realism. 16. The shark had interchangeable faces. The production didn't build just one mechanical shark, they built 3. Each was designed for different camera angles, left profile, right profile, and head-on shots. Despite the engineering, none of the sharks worked reliably. They constantly leaked, jammed, or broke down. Crew members eventually nicknamed the whole project Flaws. 17. Spielberg didn't want the opening attack scene. The terrifying cold open with the swimmer dragged violently underwater almost didn't make it. Spielberg worried it would be too intense right out of the gate. But the studio pushed for it, and the effect was unforgettable. The actress, Susan Backlinie, was yanked by ropes underwater to simulate the attack. Her screams were partly real, she had no idea how forceful the pull would be. 18. A child actor was nearly pulled under by mistake. During the chaos of the beach attack scene, a child extra wandered too close to the stunt setup. Mistaken for a dummy, he was briefly caught in a cable pull designed to simulate the shark's thrashing. Thankfully, crew members reacted quickly and got him out of the water unharmed. The incident rattled everyone and made the crew tighten their safety measures moving forward. 19. Bruce now lives at Universal Studios. The original Bruce was left to rot in storage and eventually scrapped. But in 2016, a fan-restored version was mounted at Universal Studios Hollywood. It now hangs proudly as a photo op for tourists and shark lovers alike. It's a tribute to both movie magic and mechanical headaches. Visitors can finally meet the shark that terrified a generation. 20. Jaws invented. The summer blockbuster. Before Jaws, studios didn't think summer was a good time to release major films. But when it premiered in June 1975, Jaws dominated the box office and shattered expectations. It played in hundreds of theaters, a rarity at the time, and raked in over $100 million. Suddenly, summer became the season for big, loud, thrilling movies. The era of the blockbuster had officially begun. Jaws didn't just change movies. It changed how we watch them. It gave us fear without showing the monster. It gave us heroes who weren't perfect. It made us look twice before stepping into the ocean. But what really makes Jaws unforgettable is the story behind it, the chaos, the improvisation, the accidents that turned into brilliance. It's a testament to what happens when passion meets pressure, and a rubber shark that refuses to cooperate. Steven Spielberg thought the film would flop. The studio almost pulled the plug. But the audience? They held their breath, gripped their seats, and never looked at the water the same way again. Thanks for watching Fade to Fact, and until next time, stay out of the water.